Welcome to the presentation titled Examining Teacher-Child Relationship Quality Across the First Year of School Using Children's Drawings. My name is Dr. Elizabeth Murray and my co-author is Professor Linda Harrison. Linda and I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which the Dubbo campus of Charles Sturt University and the Ryde campus of Macquarie University are located. They include the Tubbagar peoples of the Wiradjuri Nation and the Waddamadagul clan of the Darug Nation. Their cultures and customs have continued to nurture this land since the dream time. We pay our respects to elders, past, present and emerging, and we also acknowledge and pay our respects to our Indigenous colleagues who are watching this presentation. A significant body of literature has demonstrated that the quality of the relationship children have with their teacher in the first year of school sets the foundation for learning and social interaction and is predictive of academic and behavioural competence in kindergarten and beyond. Beginning in the 1990s, research has shown that conflict and dependency in student-teacher relationships are associated with difficulties in adjusting to school, whereas closeness supports school adjustment. Longitudinal research indicates links between teacher-child relationship quality in kindergarten and children's later school success. However, few studies include children's views of the teacher-child relationship, and children's voices need to be heard. From an ecological perspective, relationships are seen as dynamic and evolving. Therefore, examining how children feel about their teachers at the beginning of schooling is important in understanding their social and emotional adjustment over time. This paper aims to examine children's representations in drawings of the teacher-child relationship, examine children's self-reported feelings about the teacher-child relationship, explore how children's drawings of the teacher-child relationship change over the first year of school compared to changes in teachers' ratings, and also it aims to discuss the importance of the teacher-child relationship quality for children, families and practitioners. The current study included 96 kindergarten students or children from 8 public schools in regional New South Wales, Australia. In New South Wales, kindergarten is the first year of formal schooling in primary or elementary school. 85% of the children in this study were from an Anglo-Celtic cultural background, 11.5% were from an Indigenous Australian cultural background, and 2% were from another cultural background. Children's ages range between 4.7 and 6.25 years, and in New South Wales, this is normal. Children must turn 5 by the middle of the school year to be eligible to commence at a public school. Data were collected at 2 points in the 4-term kindergarten year, at time 1, the beginning of the year, in weeks 6 to 10 of the first school term, and at time 2 at the end of the school year, or weeks 3 to 7 of the 4th and final school term. Principals and teachers consented to school and teacher participation, and parents consented to their and their child's participation as well. Each child agreed to participate in a 20-minute interview in a quiet room close to or adjoining the kindergarten classroom. At the commencement of each interview, children were informed of the interview activities and were asked to provide assent for their own participation. Child interviews were audio taped with child permission, and children were shown the audio tape recorder and had the opportunity to explore how it worked, for example, hear their voice back, and given the opportunity to opt out of the interview activities if they no longer wanted to participate at any point in time, and no children chose to do this. During the interviews at time 1 and time 2, children were supplied with standard white A4 paper and 12 coloured felt tip markers or textures and asked to draw a picture of themselves and their teacher at school. Children were not given a time limit for this task. On completion of the drawing, children were asked to describe their picture, and notes were taken by the interviewer on a separate sheet of paper to explain who was in the picture, where the child and the teacher were situated, and anything else included in the picture, for example, tables, play equipment, other people, or other objects. Incidental comments were recorded from children, and notes were referred to during the analysis of the drawings. Children's drawings were analysed using the Fury Global Rating Scale for Relationship Negativity. This measure has been used internationally to assess relationship quality in child-family drawings, and it's been applied successfully in a previous Australian study by Harrison et al. To analyse child-teacher drawings. In Fury's 1996 scoring system, drawings are rated on 8 dimensions of relationship quality, and with each dimension being scored on a 7-point criterion-based scale, ranging from 1 very low to 7 very high. Attention is given to the context and patterning of the separate drawing signs in this drawing as a whole. The 8 dimensions include vitality or creativity, pride or happiness, vulnerability, emotional distance or isolation, tension or anger, role reversal, bizarreness or dissociation, and global pathology. And based on the factor analysis, items were summed to identify a relational negativity score for time 1 and time 2. Factor analysis confirmed a subscale structure that was consistent with previous studies, and a principal component analysis comprising of 1 positive, pride or happiness, and 5 negative dimensions, which included vulnerability, emotional distance or isolation, tension or anger, bizarreness or dissociation, and global pathology, was identified, accounting for 62.5% of the variance at time 1 and 57.3% of the variance at time 2. The total relational negativity subscale achieved high internal reliability, with Cronbach's alpha coefficient being 0.93 at both time 1 and time 2. Teachers completed the student-teacher relationship scale questionnaire at time 1 and time 2 also. The STRS is a 28-item self-report instrument that uses a 5-point Likert type rating scale to assess teachers' perceptions of their relationship with a student's interactive behaviour with the teacher, and a teacher's beliefs about the student's feelings towards the teacher. Internal consistency for the current sample was comparable to Pianta's early findings. At time 1 and time 2, alphas were high for conflict, high for closeness, and low for dependency, which was to be expected. Raw scores from these 3 subscales were used to compute the total subscale score for the overall quality of the student-teacher relationship, which represented teacher-rated relationship positivity. This total score had high internal consistency at both time 1 and time 2. With mean scores for relational negativity increasing slightly from time 1 to time 2, there seemed to be a worsening of the relationship between children and their teacher. However, this wasn't statistically significant, so an approach was made to check the differences in children's scores over time. The change in children's relational negativity from time 1 to time 2 was described by a difference score. By subtracting time 1 from time 2, we could see a wide range of scores from -2.17 to 3.17, with some children's scores going down or becoming more positive over time, and some going up or becoming more negative over time. Although overall mean scores for child-rated relational negativity showed little change from time 1 to time 2, an examination of these individual difference scores between time 1 and time 2 ratings identified 3 distinct groups. Group 1, children whose drawings for relational negativity was stable over time, which comprised of over half of the children, or 58.3%. Group 2, children whose relational negativity ratings reduced or became less negative over time, indicating a better relationship with the teacher, and this included less than a sixth of the sample, or 14.6% of children. And Group 3, which included 27.1% rather of children whose relational negativity ratings increased or became negative over time, or more negative over time, indicating a worse relationship with the teacher. On the next 4 slides, we'll provide examples of children's time 1 and time 2 drawings for each of these 3 groups. Children whose relationships with the teacher was stable over time tended to draw images of themselves and their teacher that were very similar at both points in time. The images on this slide present a pair of drawings by the child whose scores for relational negativity showed little change from time 1 to time 2, with an overall and quite positive score of 3 at time 1 and 3 at time 2. This drawing captures a sense of the child enjoying being with their teacher. The figures are close together at both times. They're doing something similar, and both show signs of positive affect. The images on this slide, however, present a pair of drawings by a child whose scores for relational negativity were higher, although stable, and more negative over time. So with an overall score of 5.33 at time 1 and 5.0 at time 2, with moderate to high on relational negativity, these drawings captured a sense of the child being ambivalent towards the teacher. And both at the beginning and end of the school year, they seem to feel this way. Although the figures are relatively complete and colourful, especially at time 2, they appear to be floating on the page at both times. There are exaggerated features such as distorted figures at time 1 and large hands at time 2, and tense sharp lines and some disturbing symbolism such as a dead tree with only a couple of leaves and clouds with rain flooding onto the flowers and scribbled rain at time 1. The figures do not show clear signs of positive affect, and they indicate a reasonable amount of emotional distance between the child and the teacher. The images on this next slide present a pair of drawings by a child whose scores for relational negativity reduced over time. That is, the child felt more positive about their teacher at the end of the year, with an overall score of 4.5 at time 1 and 3.0 at time 2. These drawings provide an example of a Group 2 child whose drawings at time 2 was rated higher on pride and happiness and lower on vulnerability, emotional distance and tension. We can see in both drawings that the child is on the left and their teacher is on the right. And in the time 1 image, we can see that although the child and the teacher are smiling, their vitality or creativity is lower as they have used less colour and less background detail. And their emotional distance is high as they're separated by the school building. The time 2 drawing was rated higher on pride or happiness with greater positive connectedness and belonging and having more background detail and being part of a scene together. It was also rated lower on emotional distance as the figures are standing together at time 2. In contrast, Group 3 children's drawings depicted a worsening relationship with their teachers over time, with an overall score of 0.38 at time 1 and 5.0 at time 2, of 3.83 at time 1 and 5.0 at time 2. These drawings received higher ratings for a number of negative constructs. This image shows that emotional distance increased over time. For example, at time 1, the child and the teacher were depicted standing together, but at time 2, they were separated by a table. Higher scores were also received for vulnerability over time, where the child's hands were exaggerated at time 2, and role reversal was also higher at time 2, with the teacher noticeably larger than the child. The child noticeably larger than the teacher. The teacher was also sitting at a desk at time 2, and the child was standing and again noticeably larger. From the teacher's perspective, results from the STRS indicated that there was a minimal mean difference over the kindergarten year, with a time 1 mean of 117.68 and a time 2 mean of 118.48. To examine the change over time in more depth, a change over time difference score was created by time 2 minus time 1 to create the total difference score, which ranged from minus 26.0 to 30.0. This analysis showed us that there were 3 groups. The first was a stable group in which teachers' ratings of the teacher-child relationship stayed relatively constant over time, and this included the majority of children, with 74 children in this stable group. Interestingly though, teachers rated their relationship with 11.5% of children as more positive over time and 11.5% of children as more negative over time. It was then important to compare children's ratings of the teacher-child relationship over time with children's ratings. In the stable group of students, which is the 58 number there, For 45 of these children, the teacher rating of relationship quality also stayed stable. For 5 of these children, the teachers rated their relationship as more positive, and 8 children's ratings were less positive at the end of the year. The children whose scoring showed a worsening relationship over time, whereas most of those children, or 18, the teacher's rating did not change, and for 5 of those children, the teachers rated the relationship as better or more positive. Only one child matched the teacher's perception, the child's perception of a relationship that got worse over time. Children whose scorings showed an improved relationship over time. For most of them, 11, the teacher's rating did not change, and for 1, the teacher matched the child's perception. They rated the relationship as better or more positive, but 2, and the relationship as rated by the teacher only got worse. So overall, only about half, or 47 of the children, matched their teacher's responses about the teacher-child relationship. And this has interesting implications for children, including children in research, as how children feel about their relationship with teachers, at least half of the time, differs to how teachers feel about that same relationship. For both kindergarten students and teachers, first impressions matter. Children and teachers think differently about their relationship across the first year of school. And this has implications not only for transition practices, but also for future research. While it might be expected that children and teachers feel the same about their relationship, for half the children that's not the case. And it's possible that children think very differently about how supportive their teacher is and how connected to them they are. While 77% of teachers remain stable in their self-reported relationship with children, children's feelings about the teacher are more likely to change over the school year. Teachers need to develop strong relationships with children early on in the first year of school and promote practices which encourage connectedness and belonging. Exploring the relationship quality from the child's perspective using valid and reliable measures should remain a focus for future transition and adjustment research. Thank you for listening to our presentation and for participating in this great conference. Please don't hesitate to contact me for more information about this research if you need to. Bye for now.